Welcome back, friends. G2 versus TT9 is about to begin. Will it be an upset? Will G2 take another L? Who knows? TT9 are looking for points, and if it means that they need to take G2 down with them, maybe there's potential for today, overtime. Who knows? Compensate for a very fast match of the day. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Milosh. With me are Fresh and Ollie, Extra Troika.
Hello.
How are you, Mr. Hatton?
Doing very well, yeah. Very invigorated after the Rogue BDS game. It was nice and quick. Feel like we're a little bit ahead of schedule now, and I think it's about time that everything just descends into chaos, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's perfect that we pull up G2 versus TT9 for that. Let's have a chat about TT9. Fresh, fill me in on the squad.
TT9 are a squad that, you know, went through significant changes when it went from the old roster and old organization, you know, through to Pones, now into TT9, that have been trying to improve themselves. And they've not really shown actual statistical improvement in terms of getting points during this stage, but a lot of 5-7 losses. I think that's 3-5-7 losses they've had in 4 games. They're getting close. They're getting competitive. This is a squad that was put together at the start of the competitive year that was kind of just all jammed together and mashed together and said, go play some EUL. And they have, and they've improved, and they've got better. But unfortunately, it's not yet been enough for points.
Surely, and I mean this truthfully, surely TT9 have got a win in them somewhere. You can't get that many 7-5s without pulling away with a win one time.
They got a couple in stage 1 and 2 when they, you know, a lot of their losses come off the back of a shallow map pool. But when teams take them to their good maps, they tend to be quite good. You know, the clubhouse, the cafe. So when teams do take them there, that's where they tend to pick up wins.
G2 are known for making map ban mistakes, so who knows if that can repeat again. G2, though, on the other side, this squad that has been touted as, you know, the return of the baby Jesus, as they would say, into EUL, it's not really materialized, has it?
No, I think that there's a lot of emphasis on the baby part of that. It is maybe still a little bit young as a team to really, you know.
They've all got experience.
They've all got experience. They've made a lot of roster
changes. He's short, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have experience.
True, true. There's a lot of experience in this roster. Between them, they have all been to a lot of competitions. They've all been and seen a lot of Siege, but there isn't the glue at the minute, is the Fresh. I don't know where we look to in this roster to find consistency in a good way.
Yeah. It's
consistency in a good way.
It's true though, isn't it?
Fair.
We can find a bit of consistency somewhere, I'm sure, if we're looking at some negatives, but find some consistency that's positive.
The first thing about G2 is it's very obvious to see that this squad, this roster, this team has issues.
Yeah.
But when you start identifying the issues and what they are, what you're seeing is the symptoms, but not the actual cause or the disease or whatever. We're not seeing what's actually causing the issues. We're just seeing the output of the issues, which is that this team, this roster, is underperforming and seems to get to these points of underperforming. And then you take a step back and then you go, actually, Charlotte Major, quarterfinals. Berlin Major, quarterfinals. Yeah. They've got a nice little fixture, and would I be surprised if this snuck into the top 4? No. And it's a real... I feel like it's a jigsaw that when they finally solve it, when they finally get that whole picture together, oh, sweet whatever. Like they'll be sweet baby Jesus, they'll be so good. But they're not there yet. And I can't identify the issues. Apparently Shas couldn't. Fabian still can't. Like, I don't know necessarily what's going on internally at G2, whether they can identify the issues. When it clicks, they'll be really good.
Scrap them. Start from scratch. It's done.
I think that's maybe a little bit drastic.
It's got to go.
Sometimes you need some drastic solutions for drastic problems.
I mean, the context, though, is it a drastic problem? Because there's still
or is that even a solution?
Yeah. Who knows? Not us.
Sorry, it's the anarchist in me that comes out. Anyways, let's take a look at our map for this series. 9 map pool, 8 are out, and 1 is left. And it's TT9 will have the last say, taking out Theme Park, and they get to choose. This is something we talked about. They go to Clubhouse. It's as classic as it gets.
No.
Especially for a Russian team. They start on the attack. G2 have picked defense. Jack, you are burying your head in your hands. What's going on?
G2 are first ban Chalet. G2 are first ban Chalet, which is G2's favourite map, and the map that I was just like, if G2 go to Chalet, they will just win this. Easy. And the only time TT9 have ever won a game inside of EUL has been on their big maps, has been on Clubhouse or Cafe. So what did G2 do? They've navigated themselves to Clubhouse.
Would you like to change your prediction?
If I can, I would absolutely love to change it.
You know the map now.
You can't.
Oh.
The
the
map's
map.
already been there.
All right, well, when G2 win, I'll be like, I told you so. But, you know. I think G2 have navigated the map bans poorly again. I can't see a world where you would want to go to Clubhouse against this team.
Fair enough.
TT9, we know, play very old-fashioned Siege, and we know that old-fashioned Siege suits those older maps, Clubhouse being one of them. It's a map that's been around forever, so you would expect TT9 to have a reasonable handle on playing Clubhouse, and history shows that they do. It does beg a little bit of a question as to how we've ended up here.
Well, I'm going to have to see if G2 are ready and willing for Clubhouse versus TT9. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Ollie and Fresh. We'll toss it to our wonderful casters. They join us now. It's Des and Ace. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milosh. Welcome over for Game 4, boys and girls, to me and Big Tim, Mr. Bobblehead on the screen, apparently. What was all that little shaking about? What was that?
I was just waving myself into the show, just getting ready. Pepped up, bit of energy.
Is that how we do it now? This is not becoming a thing. We have the fist bump post-game, we have it before game. We ain't doing more of this anymore, okay? The only thing that might be wobbly in this game, though, Tim, could be one of these two teams. Fresh has already gone into the map bans being a little bit questionable on G2's side. I think I had the same sort of reaction seeing the Chalet ban. As I think many will remember, back when TT9 were known as Poems, they played this map, what, 4 or 5 times in a row? And they got absolutely ragged about like a rag doll for several games in a row. It feels like the map to go to. It's one of G2's favourites, Clubhouse. I'm not too sold on what we did see TT9 not have the best show here either. So very possibly G2 could be trying to capitalise on what we saw recently.
Could be a messy one. Could be a messy one, Des. You know, we could be asking questions of both performances on this one before we're done. We'll see how it goes. We're going to get into our ban phase to kick things off, and G2, they're going to take Maverick straight off the rip.
Interesting. Maverick's have not really been one to be banned away much at all, or even picked, really, because of his loss of frag grenades. Now, obviously, has the flashes instead. Does mean that he's lost a lot of the utility that he really brought, but have seen him use from time to time on this map in particular to get through walls without asking any questions. And I think, especially now that we've seen some players, a mission I'm looking towards here as well, I'm thinking about the times that he's picked that up before. Just keep it off the board seems to be the smart play. Nook, the second ban, taken away. This one from TT9. I think just one of those more general blanket picks as well. I was about to call you Fresh then. I was going to say to him, Nook, one of those more...
Don't do that to me.
I apologise profusely. No one should ever be degraded enough by being called Fresh. But Nook is the second ban. Third one's going to be the Valk, which means the last one I expect will likely be the Mirror.
Yeah, more than likely. I'd have thought potentially Kaid, maybe. There we go. So Kaid comes in, just going to open up those hatches a little bit, especially with the Maverick ban. It sort of plays into it. You know, once Maverick's gone, you've got very little option to open up hatches on that basement level when there's an electrical applied to the underneath of it. It really does start limiting you. We've got the EMPs now, but with the radius being as small as it is, it's pretty easy to hide those electricals away. You know, all you got to do is get it on the opposite side to where they try with that EMP impact nade, and you're going to be successful. So, you know, no surprise to see KU go in there. We're going to go up to the top floor to kick things off. It's going to be G2 on the defense to begin with. Let's have a look at that defensive lineup. We've got Citizen on the Mozzie, so they're going to be looking to deny that information as much as they can, take away the drones, prevent TT9 being able to come in knowing what is going on. Okay, that's an interesting choice for him on the Bandit. Don't remember seeing him play too much Bandit.
No, I mean, he's flexed around a number of operators and roles over the last few weeks. I say roles, we've seen him playing things like Ace on the attack, which he was quite insistent wasn't really meant to be a supportive pick. Just got a great gun, for example, good secondary utility. Why knock it? And of course, primary utility as well in the form of the gadget. I think something was a little bit off about this ban phase, and I went back and took a quick look as well. TT9 were the ones who banned away the Maverick. They've already shown they can play without the operator because they banned it against Na'Vi last week. So G2 coming in here today and banning that, I'm not too sure of it. I mean, admittedly here they're playing into the strategy themselves by saying, okay, no Maverick on side means that we can start electrifying things off. So the Bandit does make some sense when you look at it that way. They do have these mini EMPs. They know there's no Kai pick on side. You can guarantee it's a Bandit. So unless they've really messed this up, they've gone for the far corner. It makes this all too easy to get off. 9 seconds is the amount of time you've had. Will the trick come through in time? Doki bails off at the last second. I think if it stuck that, he might have just had it, Tim.
Ooh, it's very close.
It's always close.
It's pretty much that the battery needs to be applied once the thermite charge starts. Basically, once you see the charge, it's too late. You can't like get it on and get it done. So I think Dorky obviously being cautious because he loses his life. If that one goes off and he's right on the other side of it, he'll likely lose his life. Now then, Exodus manages to pick up a stray Citizen there. And that is unlike Citizen, running around, not in ADS, not ready for the fight, not aware that Exodus had got that far into the map. And I'm sure that there's already questions being asked within those G2 comms of why or how was he there?
Well, almost a second one coming up through the floor there. It's a WTG from below, almost finding out Doki, but he's the one who manages to find a mission and get away from things pretty safely here. And I think for a second for Citizen, he wasn't expecting to find someone inside of bathrooms. They hadn't heard any barricades being opened up. It kind of is what it is, but you still find yourself here sat at 1 apiece. So I think for G2, things aren't looking too rough. A focus now on the jacuzzi wall coming out for Siler to make use of the second of those 2 exothermics. Get this wall opened up, and now we can really start to see things get underway, because with some control out towards the east side of the map, they should be able to get control of Cash and CC, control the west window. Still worried about the man that's at the top of red, mind you, so either they abandon this east side entirely and go for a full west side and logistics take, or they try and force the man out, and I think here the goal was to try and force him out, but Exodus caught between a rock and a hard place. It's Virtue with a freebie.
Nice fight for Virtue to win there, Dorky. Electrifies the bathroom wall, going to keep that secure, but Sider, he's just going to bypass it by walking in. He could even vault through that wall if he wants to get into the bathroom for the time being. He's going to continue. We see the Nitro come out right into the face of WTG there, but absolutely no fear as he just keeps on gunning. Manages to take down Dorky, and that leaves G2 short-handed now. 2 versus 3, Virtue low health, coming into that final 30.
Both just... I mean, hold up here off site as well. They've kind of been forced and sandwiched away from control of the site itself. Sider's looking to make a plan happen inside the gym, but he's really worried about those low feet holes that have been opened up. Can have a little bit of cover here to stop anything coming through, but Alamal's retaking control of Cash and CC. That's the kind of play you're looking for. The 2 of them now looking maybe to try and go up towards Logi. One side smoked off. They've got to make their move here. Stepping in through the smoke, will he be able to find his man tucked into the right-hand side? I don't think he really knows exactly where he is. It's too much of a gamble. Thinks inside the gym, but it's not. Alamal finds another, and by the looks of it, TT9 might have let this one slip. Sider left in the 1 versus 2. Both of his assailants very low HP here as well. Virtue a bullet away. Alamal just a couple. Finds one for himself, but he can't stop Alamal, who finds the last 3 kills in the round to secure round 1 for G2.
A bit closer than G2 would have wanted there, I am pretty sure, coming all the way down to the 1v1. But Alamo on hand to catch his man and catch that diffuser, get the job done. But it did require a big double from him at the end to close that one out. And G2, they are not going to want things that close overall. But that's the top floor lockdown. They can head down to Church and Arsenal now. And if they take this as well and go 2-0 up, I think that's a pretty good start for them, given how that round began. Kills onto Citizen and Dorky, both reasonably easily achieved, and TT9 in the advantage for the majority of the round.
I mean, they nearly got 2 entries coming out as well, right? We saw the first one onto Citizen, the second one from WTG from stock pointing upwards, just couldn't quite connect a couple of shots there to get the kills out. And even at the very end of it, they'd forced the last 2 G2 players inside of construction, but didn't seem to appreciate they got 2 players locked inside of construction. The plant coming down was fine, the smoke off on the door also absolutely fine, very well positioned as well. Had Virtue stepped in through the smoke, he would have been exposed to every angle at the same time. You simply aren't able to challenge everything blind, he would have lost his life for sure. But just not giving enough to the fact that the second player may well move. Alamal this is up in towards Logi, and well, you saw exactly how much damage he did from the cash window as well, something that TT9 put some focus on controlling earlier into that round. So a couple of mistakes being made by TT9, ultimately enabling Alamal to pull off a massive 3K. Some corrections needed in this round that, for me at least, on G2 side is being more aware of how fast TT9 can move in. On TT9 side, getting better at closing out rounds when you've got the man advantage.
Muta Mozit will come into force here, going to come into play now. Also joined by Virtue with his army up on the top floor. It looks like he's going to be in charge of keeping hold of Jim for the time being. He's got all the utility he needs. He's got Kiba barricades, he's got bandit batteries, mute jammers, Mozzie pests. So, what does that mean? It means that G2 need to be holding on to this top floor, I would say, for at least about a minute and a half. They need to be wasting an awful lot of this round up there on the top floor if they're going to invest so much utility.
I think what you saw a second ago as well that Easy pointed out to us was the Kiba barrier over the drone hole that sat currently on the west wall. means they're in a spot where they have to burn some utility to get rid of that, to even get a nade rolling through to then clear out the bandit batteries on the other side. A good bit of scrapping early on, though, around Logi Hatch and also around these south windows that have been taken over quite early on. Let's not forget, though, Tim, we aren't attacking on the upstairs this round. It is all the way down in the basement, and now Exodus might be the one to really try and break open this stronghold that's been set up by G2. Finds one for himself. It's Blur as the first to fall.
Nico's going to take down Virtue as well. TT9 really starting to steamroll over G2 here. And where I said they needed to keep hold of top floor for a minute and a half, they also needed to keep the bodies on the lineup. They couldn't be losing so many in a 2 versus 5 to try and hold a church and try and hold on to Church and Arsenal. It's not going to be easy here because it's such a big site to try and hold on to like that. You can have at best 1 man either side, and there is almost certainly going to be an opportunity for a plant.
Good read from Citizen on that drone coming off towards the end of the what would you even call that? I don't know. It's not really a fence, is it? What would you call that?
A handrail?
Would you call it a hand? It's not a handrail, though. Because you can't hold that as you're going down the stairs. That's what handrail's for.
No,
it's kind of running across the
true.
top. I don't even know what you call that. I've been truly rattled. In the same way Alamal's brains have just been inside of his skull by Scyther. Much better from TT9, making use of the numbers advantage. They've got drones going in, lion scans coming out. They are not going to make this easy for Citizen, who finds himself in the middle of no man's land, surrounded by 5 sharks, and Emission sinks in those fangs. A flawless round for TT9.
Much better than round 1 for TT9. This time using the man advantage that they had to much better effect. G2 were able to fight their way back in last time, but not this. Flawless for TT9. And we're going to see G2 going back down to Church and Arsenal again. No, we're not. They're going to switch off. I thought there was obviously a little bit of a discussion there as to which side it was going to be, whether they were going to double down there and try to mix things up. But to be honest, after facing a flawless round, you weren't even kind of close. So they're going to move on. They're going to go to Barton stage instead. So it's going to come down to that top 4 hold again. But I don't know. I don't feel too confident about this for G2, Des. They hardly put up the best top floor performance we've ever seen in round 1. They won the round, but it was close. I think this is definitely doable for TT9.
I kind of said this coming into the day. The one prediction I wasn't really convinced. In fact, there were 2. Rogue BDS. I didn't know which way to go. I was Rogue until like 10 minutes before the broadcast started, and the change to BDS at the last second, like, just maybe. And then Leah, I believe it's Rogue's manager, was straight on Twitter like, oh, so you were saying? And I was like, yep, screw you, thanks very much. This game is the one that I looked at on the agenda and was like, I see a world where TT9 win, where they finally get their break and get the big set of points on the board, would be against a team right now that is a little bit scattered, a little bit rattled, G2. And on this map as well, feels like a fairly opportune moment to do so. Again, I know G2 had the ability to look back at the last Playday and go, hey, TT9 played on Clubhouse last week. We can do a little bit of VOD review. We can figure out what's going on here and come up with a plan. So far, at least on the defensive side, TT9 seem to be the only real ones that are grabbing the ball by the horns and directing this game where they want it to go.
Certainly does look that way. The drones are going to be going in across that top floor once again. Let's not forget the top floor clearance was where TT9 specialised last time, and WTG goes in knowing exactly where this man is. He's on the hunt, he's on the prowl, he's going to be looking for him. Catches the main stairs as well. Gets himself a second. No, Blur manages to shut him down, and that's going to leave us now 4v4 in a quick trade.
I'm not quite sure what he was looking for there. I mean, sprinting into the exposed mouth of the bathroom, knowing there's a player likely in there, I think he got a little bit too caught up on the man on main stairs, thought maybe more of it was clear than what he necessarily expected, and Blur gets the freebie trade. Otherwise, that would have been a fantastic 2K opener for WTG. Either way, they've got a little bit of bedroom control now, so they lost the bedroom control with them going down. Here you've got 4 players of G2 stacking up upstairs, holding this vertical location like we're so used to seeing on this site, and now you're going to start seeing TT9 work their way across this top floor, try and get that top floor control, force G2 down, if not picking off 2 or 3 players along the way, and then start thinking about the site.
Nico just checking out red stairs. There's a lot of diligence going into this clearance. Exodus, ooh, he's got a nice angle there from stock in towards main stairs and kitchen corridor area. He's going to try to hold that down. That's often one of the places that the defenders will try to prevent the defuse going down from. But still, TT9 not getting the top floor progress that they might want here, Des. They've not really got in after that initial kill from WTG. There's 4 of G2, actually. They're all up on the top floor at the minute, by the the looks of things, and they really are holding on to this one tightly.
I would love to see them just completely ignore this and try and make a play on site itself here. I know it's really hard given they've got 3 or 4 main vertical holes that have been opened up by impacts, the hatch, for example, but just find your angle and go for it. The main threat you'll have down there are going to be drops coming through the hatch, which you can watch, or the yokai drones. And when you know G2 have dug in so much, 4 players on the top floor, why bother wasting all this time and attention going for them when you can make something really cheeky happen on the site? And that looks to be the game plan. Most of them have dropped down. You've got Exodus coming up through main stairs. You've got 1 sat on front door, 1 around kitchen. They're ignoring them, Tim. They're just going direct to site.
Scyther's the one to watch here. He has diffuser in hand, and it's going to be that positioning that is particularly important. It looks like he's going to move his way in now. He is underneath the hole. He's going to have to relocate. He's very conscious of this.
Got the
Keeps
hatch.
trying.
That's it.
Needs to be aware of the hatch. This is it. This is going to be the battle. Amision has to win this out. Sees the Yokai, gets stunned by it, gets shut down by Doke, as does Scyther. G2 hold on, and TT9 dares. They got it all wrong.
They did. Again, I appreciate the intent. They had the right idea, just not the execution. The yokai drones being left up as well. Look, you can't hunt them down without an IQ. It's going to be an absolute headache trying to find them. I get that. So you've got to give yourself 20, 30 seconds to work with there to be able to play the juggling game with those yokais. You clear one out after it's blasted you once, you start planting again. The second one blasts you, you clear that one out. Then you plant again and make it happen for real. But by that time, G2 had done the right thing. They'd capitalized on the chaos. They got rid of the man that was covering the planter going down, and the last one was an absolute freebie kill for them. So TT9 there, losing more to their own indecision in the mid-round, I feel, than anything else.
Round number 4, here we go then. Back to gym and bedroom. G2, they need to do a better job of this time around, just purely for their own confidence, I think. It was close. It came down to a 1v1 at the end with Alamar. He was able to get the job done, but they don't want it. This is their primary site choice, let's not forget. They failed to win down in the basement. That's going to have to come next, realistically, if they get this one done. So for me, you got to have... This is your round. This is your round where, you know, we've seen TT9 have the flawless round. Last one was pretty good for G2, but I feel like TT9 lost it a little bit with their inability to get themselves into the top floor, which, to be fair, is to the credit of G2. They prevented them from doing that. But ultimately, TT9 left it too little too late. So G2, I want to see a really good, confident round. Citizen, been quiet so far. 0 kills, 3 deaths. Needs to get himself involved in the action here.
It's a little bit unlike him, really, isn't it? For Citizen, normally expects him to be the kind of guy dropping 3, 4, 5 kills by this point in the game, but it is what it is. We'll see how things shape out. It's Virtue being the first one to drop this time to a mission.
That's going to be the opener then, leaving us 5v4. TT9 starting... No, we are going to the rehost. We saw the call for the rehost, but until the admins give the nod, we never get involved with that, because obviously it depends on the reasoning and the situation as to how long into the round it's allowed, etc., etc. So that is going to be the rehost coming along, and we'll get everybody back into this one as quickly as we can do. I think we just had a crash, maybe on the side of G2 there. So, yeah, for me, as I was saying, Des, I think, you know, really we need a stronger round from G2. I'd like to see Citizen come out, get himself rolling now. You know, it's not certainly a one-man team, but he's just been a little bit quiet. They need him on that entry. He's run into a couple of deaths. You know, just seems a little bit off the pace tonight. Could just do with that good round, 2-3 kills, get himself into it, and then if you're a TT9 fan, you start sweating a little bit, I think.
Yeah, very possibly. In case you were wondering, the players were just carrying on through the round until they are told to rehost. So although we had the call come through, and we obviously jumped out of it, the admins then have to confirm and then instruct the players to jump out. So another 30 seconds or so, and now we're going into the rehost, as you guys should be able to see by the lack of bright white flashes across the players' faces, normally indicated not they've been flashbang, but they are indeed jumping between drones. So we should get back into things quite shortly.
I think it's been a very even start so far. They both had the moments. TT9 with the big flawless round, of course, but that last round just made me worry for TT9 a little bit. Like I said, they were just out of ideas, run into the side, sort of try and throw the diffuser down where there isn't a hole, but there were holes everywhere. And yeah, if that's going to be your attack onto bar and stage, I'm sort of surprised that they managed to flawless Church and Arsenal, you know, as quickly as they did. It took them about 30 seconds from beginning to end after that first kill went down. So G2, they just need to do, you know, really, they need that top floor hold, the one that we've just seen in the last round, except they need to apply it to Church and Arsenal. If they can do that, waste a minute and a half and get not necessarily everybody, but if they can get 4 out of 5 back to side, they're probably golden on that side.
I think there's a little funny lesson here. My dad always told me when I was learning to drive, is like, hesitation is what causes accidents. If you go to pull out onto an island, Americans might not know what one of those is. If you go to pull out onto your island and then you kind of hesitate and go to pause, that's when an accident's going to happen. And almost you see that happen, I thought, in the round for TT9 was, again, they sat upstairs for 60 seconds. You know, do we commit to this push? Do we change our minds and go somewhere else? What do we do? Oh, there's 30 seconds left. Quick, let's go downstairs. They left it a good extra 60 seconds before making that call. If they'd had someone go, right, boys, look, it's a gamble, but we're going for the site hit. Or, boys, we're committing towards attacking this top floor. Let's go now. They get left with a little bit more time. So a little more decisiveness on the side of TT9, and maybe you'd see them up at 2-1 right now. Also worth stressing, Tim, let's not forget, I think if this game ended a draw, which obviously it can't, G2 and TT9 are both still bottom of the table. If TT9 win, I don't know if they... I don't need to go and do, rather than talking out my backside, is actually go and check the league standings, but I'm pretty sure TT9, if they haven't got any points so far, they'll have one from overtime. I'll have a look in a minute. Either way,
You go and have a look, Des.
they're
You go and have
basically
a
both
look.
right at the very bottom. It's looking pretty dire.
Don't you worry about it. I'll carry the round so far. You have a little check.
Go for it.
We're going to be, as I said, back into gym and bedroom. We've got Doki over on that side. Bandit batteries, same as last time. He did go for the trick. Places that one a little bit far over. I'm not going to get too critical because there might be somebody playing on the CCTV window, but it's very easy to shoot out if the attackers just get themselves dropped down. Thank you very much, Easy. To exactly that position, they can just shoot it out from the window. You'd usually place it over to the left-hand side of the wall. The reason for not doing that is likely because of the impact EMP nades and the radius that's available on them, but it doesn't really gain you anything because it can be cleared out just as easily, and then you still use your impact nade on the other bandit battery, and the same job has been achieved. So it swings and roundabouts essentially, but basically the top and bottom of it is those bandit batteries should be pretty easily cleared.
Yeah, for poor TT9, by the way, they've had a couple of close calls. 7-5 heroic, 7-4. Ooh, not far off. But I was going to say, G2 are on 4 points at the minute, TT9 are on 0, so they can't jump over them even with a clean win. But it would at least get them in the conversation for this season and keep them away from the whole conversation around relegation. Don't want to be at the bottom of the table come the end of the year. Not quite sure what's happening there, but the higher up you finish, everyone can kind of tell the higher you finish in the table. Generally, the better things tend to go for you.
It's quite as simple as that, really.
It is.
Alamo is going to be trying to hold on to top red with Azami there. Now then, TT9 have got a reasonable amount of access. They've got the breach open. They can start to push in through there. They've got garage control if they should want it. But at the minute, they haven't progressed forward, and this just sings to me same problems as we saw in the last round. Maybe not decisive enough, maybe not pushing forward into the space that they have created. Halfway through the round, they've still got Alamo top of red. We know how much of a nightmare he is with these keeper barricades. We've seen it on Villa countless times. He's going to be challenged here potentially from catwalk. There is a rotation through, so he does take the choice to get himself away. But 1 minute 40 wasted, and they're not even into construction yet, Des. This is pretty good from G2.
And barely a bullet fired as well, Tim. That's the best part. Is they've dragged TT9 over to that side of the map, pretty much every single player, and said, hey, come and try and force us off. And it's been a very half-hearted attempt, I think, coming out of TT9. Alamal there being able to slip through is criminal. He should be cut off from inside a server, from off catwalk, for example, to stop and get him away scot-free, but that's exactly what he's done. TT9 is not really showing enough teeth at the start of a round. At least here it starts to improve with Virtue falling down. A swing comes through. Will it be 2 kills coming out? No. Exodus was there with the trade straight away onto Alamal. And for now, at least TT9, I was about to say hold their number advantage, but they don't, as Blur finds one back the other way.
Butler's doing a great job in logistics here. Might be another one on the cards for him. He's going to get that wall breach, but it's not really going to help them push in there anymore. They're going to have to win that gunfight. Citizen takes the head off Nico, and that's exactly what G2 needed, but a mission is there for the trade. It's 1-for-1 again and leaves us 2 versus 2 with 19 seconds left to go. Cyther, diffuser in hand, is still outside of the map. He's going to have to hop himself in through a window. A mission gets himself taken down, and that makes Cyther's job all the more difficult. It's a Doki double to finish things off, and that's going to be be G2 taking another round 3-1. And I don't think that scoreline quite tells the story of this game so far. But G2, they're going to be very happy with how they stand.
It's rounds like that and the bar stage round that show you the glimpses of what G2 could be as well. If they were consistently like this, you know, in good spots where they're holding things down, where they're shutting down anyone trying to push into them, where they're capitalizing on mistakes being made by the opposition, in terms of getting Alamal, for example, out of that extended hold scot-free after 100 seconds into the round, that's the kind of stuff that champions are made of, where they can find these holes and gaps and really blow them wide open to get a massive advantage in the round. Another very convincing one for G2. They're up 3-1. If that one round that probably should have gone the way of TT9 did, it would have been sat at 2-2, but it's still 3-1 and a good start for G2 overall.
It's excellent. I think, you know, if you'd have offered them, they might not choose the performance that they've had so far. It's not been terrible, but it's not been perfect either. There's certainly, you know, some areas that G2 could improve upon, particularly when we look towards round 2. Obviously, a flawless round for TT9. The top floor hold just didn't stick for them. You know, they've given a couple of opportunities up to TT9 where maybe they didn't need to. But overall, you know, they'll be very pleased with the scoreline at this point. 3-1. One more round guarantees them the, you know, the benefit of the half at least, maybe even a 5-1. This set is pivotal for me. I think if they get Church and Arsenal locked down and it goes 4-1, they've got a good shout for Jim. You know, sorry, bar and stage again. That's a potential 5-1, and that's not going to be easy for TT9 to come back from.
I was so rattled then for a second as to how a drone just literally flown past a mute jammer, realising, oh yeah, it's Alamo's drone that he's caught in. What the hell's that for a word? Caught away from TT9 and used for his own purposes. I believe he's left, in fact, you can see now he's moved it downstairs. I thought I was going to say he'd kept it on the upstairs to feed some information, but no, has moved it on to the downstairs. Couple of players still hanging around here on the ground floor as well. WTG in nice and rapid here inside, what, 45 seconds? And realising with nothing really droned out, maybe it's a time to get away, because look at that. Blur's around to challenge. They've got 2 players sitting below. I imagine with C4s or impacts held in hand, they are ready to fight TT9 for every square inch of that kitchen.
I saw the TT9 don't seem to be able to balance this. It's either super aggro, in they go, they're getting map control, they're going for those fights, they're getting kills, or it's 10 seconds left to go and we're just going to rush into bar and try and put the diffuser down. There doesn't seem to be any in between for them. Church and Arsenal is a site that they were aggressive on last time and they did well. They got in, they cleared that top floor, but G2 this time might not have wasted as much time, but they haven't wasted lives either. They've got all 5 back to site safely, and that's going to make things much more difficult for TT9. They've got a bit more time than they did have last time to soften them up, but G2 have at least got the firepower now.
They do. I mean, slowly does it, right? Same again for TT9. I don't want to fault them for getting out of dodge. You know, WTG pulling back when they realise, okay, we haven't got hallway control here, guys. You don't know what's going on inside the bar. Get out of dodge for a minute. It's good life preservation skills. But the problem is, we're 2 minutes in. Sure, they've got a little bit of vertical work done, but they've barely done anything else, Tim. They've already found themselves down a man here. This should get impact tripped away. Here comes Doki charging in. Not quite the play they were looking for, I think, but they still managed to keep it closed anyway. A second impact coming up to try and find out WTG. In fact, they've burnt everything there, I think, trying to get rid of that, Tim. So now there's nothing to stop this hatch being opened up. A little bit of an overcommittal from G2. That's for you to decide. For now, at least, TT9 have access to site.
35 seconds left to go, and they need to use that access now. Des WTG's going to find himself down but not out. Finished off. Citizen, Virtue getting one apiece. It's Nico taken down, and it leaves Cider once again in a difficult position. It's Cider that keeps finding himself in these 1BXs, and he hasn't yet been successful, and he won't be again, as Blur makes it cheaper for him to buy shoes with the Nitro from underneath. Takes him down, and that's going to be another round to G2. It's 4-1, and this could end up a landslide half for G2, and that would be unfortunate for TT9 because I don't think those early rounds probably quite match up to that scoreline.
Makes it cheaper to buy shoes, Tim.
Because he took his feet off with the Nitro, didn't he?
Oh,
I said, I've got to admit, I've got to give the credit where it's due. I've stolen that line, Des.
From who?
As if you can't guess. It's a Jackie classic.
It's a Jackie classic, of course it is.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
The beardy boy himself.
Either I thought it was a really strange analogy or it was quite grim, and it turned out it was pretty grim, actually, because I don't want to go into it. It feels like a pretty grim topic, to be honest with you. I had a few jokes to crack, but I think I'll avoid that one for now. TT9 calling in their tactical timeout. I think they'll need 1, maybe even 9 of those at this point, Tim, because it is not looking good. Down 4-1. G2 have really worn back into things. And again, I can't really see an easy way back in. One player I do want to give a little bit of praise to so far, admittedly, has been Alamau on the Azami plus Virtue. I think played it back in round 2. The use of those Kiba barricades has been exceptional. Whether it was around you in bedroom to give them some excellent angles to play, whether it was just then downstairs to protect them from the kitchen hatch, for example, everything has cut off some really dangerous angles for defenders to contest on this map and made certain areas that are normally quite hard to defend suddenly very safe, even down to the Azami being used to block off the drone hole that you're going to see likely again now on this west wall.
Last defensive round then for G2. Round 6 is going to get
toy with me for now, thank you. Brilliant. He will do it.
Sorry?
I say he's toying with me. They've got a bandit, so there must be a reason why they've got the Azami on side. They should want to block it up again, I imagine, unless they've read into, look, they're not trying to roll nades through. They're not that advanced yet, it seems, so far to make a go of that, so why bother otherwise?
We'll see whether they bother trying to hold on to the Jacuzzi side this time. There seems to actually be a lot more focus on the other side of the top floor this time. The hold last time from G2 was much more over gym and bedroom side. This time, there's a lot of attention in garage, in CCTV. They were pushed away from this early on last time, but we've got Kiba barricades, we've got deployable shields, we've got everything going on.
The Kiba barricades here, so it's between Virtue. Virtue's played it twice now, and then Emission's played it twice as well. This one here just gives you these really cool little tucked-in tight angles, so you can play the alternative angle to step out and challenge down on towards those double doors without exposing yourself to the west window. You've also got the one on the other side to make it safer to play on catwalk without being shot out from the breach itself, which has now been opened up. Now, this one's on the right-hand side, so you do actually get a nice angle still through to catwalk. Normally, though, it would be impeded by the fact there's a Kiba barricade there.
Exodus sends the drone in. He's going to recognise very quickly that there is no manpower there to try and hold them off. The utility has all been abandoned. G2 have moved their way back across to the opposite side of the map, and that is where they're going to be holding for the time being. Alamau getting aggressive on that breach, looking to see if anybody's on the rappel, if anybody's trying to get themselves up there and into the building, but that's not going to be the case at the minute. Citizen, tight angle through the bathroom and out towards strip, but again, TT9 just sort of being cautious as to where they take this first gunfight.
Yeah, both exothermics now gone as well, so call it investment if you want, I guess, but this setup on the east side has done wonders for G2 in terms of burning through that. G2 aren't committing as many players, I was going to say, aren't committing as many players on the upstairs here because they want to fight on the downstairs. Now they're going hunting, it seems, out towards the strip side of things. WTG being blasted out by the Yokais. Does he know about the man inside? I have a feeling he does now. Those shots have come through, but who wins out the 1v1? Shoot him in the booty. Alamau almost managing to find his man, and out they get. They've done the work inside a strip, and they are now heading back towards site with the numbers advantage on side.
Doki, he's inside of logistics at the minute, and whilst there are still players on the top floor, we know how difficult this site is to push into. TT9 have to deal with that 45 seconds. He's going to keep himself locked in there. Now then, Nico manages to get Alamau on the main stairs, but do they know that Doki is present? That is going to be the big question.
It's the Kiba barricade in the door, though. He can't easily get through. Like, has he got a C4? Yes. He can open up a rotate through secret if he wants to here, but I don't know. Unless he's looking to come for a flank when they start pushing down main stairs, that must be the only other play they can make work here. If Mission gets abandoned inside of here, he can do some real damage, and here he goes on the move. If he gets it for free, that's a massive turning point for them. Oh, he's just waiting.
13 seconds. He's poised. He just needs to wait for the moment here. He's going to peek around to main stairs, get himself down. Virtue and Citizen make his job redundant, though, as Virtue gets the double. That's Citizen and Virtue teaming up, closing it down. G2 take the round, and they are 5-1 up now.
A real slaughter from Bathroom across into the hallway there. Good couple of crossfires from G2. But Doki was there as insurance if absolutely essential. Turned out not to be at all. I think that one was better from G2 because although it worked out for them last time, they probably would have feared that you would have seen TT9 adapt, that they would have been in a spot to hit that site a little bit earlier and deal with the verticals from there. So instead of playing everyone on the upstairs, they kept TT9 guessing, asking questions, slowing them down, forcing them to invest utility in drones that they otherwise wouldn't have had to by saying, okay, there's some of us downstairs, but there's some upstairs. And you can see how importantly they saw the hold around pool, around bathroom, around the hallway, by how aggressively they pursued that one player inside a strip, identifying that he was on his own and looking to cut off any kind of risk from that side of the map. Really good round once again from G2. Up 5-1. I'd say on paper, no one really wouldn't have expected this to go much differently. Maybe TT9 would have been a little bit closer, but at least to start things off, G2 have been flying.
10 seconds remaining.
They're going to move on to the attack dares. That's where often the problems come. I remember in Stage 2 particularly seeing G2 do pretty much exactly this. Have a great defensive half on Clubhouse and then get themselves onto the attack and it all starts to fall apart. Hopefully that won't be the case for them here and we'll see them carry that confidence and momentum forward. But can TT9 sort of steady the ship a little bit here? They've had 1 round out of 6. It was back in round 2, so it's been, 4 rounds in a row for G2 that they've now won. It's not going to be easy to stop them at this point, and if they get the first couple of kills on this attack, maybe get the round 6-1, it's going to be very, very difficult.
It is, but really for me, it's going to be the telling sign of how this first attack goes. Just in case they're worried about things going wrong, why wouldn't Amonte be the go-to in this case? You got Citizen on the 8, and I spoke about this a little bit, earlier on. Doki played this operator the other week, and when he was saying, oh, why is Doki on support? And he sort of went on Twitter and stressed, I wasn't playing support. Like, I know it's a support operator normally, but his gun is great. The utility is obviously very good. You want a lot of hard breach on this map, for example. So why not bring it if it does that much for you? Plus, you also, of course, get a little bit of flank lockdown in the form of the Claymores in back pocket. So it does make a lot of sense. Give him a good gun, still moves at a pretty decent speed, get him out around the map, keep busy, sure.
Got a lot of activity going on from G2 at the minute, but TT9 are standing up to it. We're going to see the Keeper barricade just blocking off the line of sight that's been opened in lower garage. The Monte of Alamo is trying to push in as well. Doki in support from Adam, but they haven't got garage dealt with just yet. They haven't got that control. He's going to switch himself over. I think they're comfortable now. They're confident that lower garage is not occupied, so that gives them the opportunity to move up onto top floor, but they're going to have to deal with the Keeper barricade at the top of the stairs. And more importantly, Blur loses the first exothermic. They need garage. They need the pressure in towards CCTV, particularly to stop those impact nades being thrown out of the mirror window and blowing off the second exothermic. They try to do that with the Selma chargers, but I think this time they've probably got the job done.
They have. It's enough of an opening they can vault through it for one, and most importantly, an opening they can actually use to watch certain angles. Now, Scyther, rather than running back and trying to avoid the opening, has actually gone right up close to Amonte. She won't be exposed from here because you can see the really well-placed keepers behind it, but Doki's working in from below. Will Alamo go down here? No, he does go quite low, but it's Scyther still the first to fall as Doki comes in with some support.
Well played to clear out the catwalk there. They could just do with getting rid of this Keeper barricade. 3 knocks will get the job done. Exodus is challenging onto the breach, but is forced back quickly as he knows that garage catwalk is now in the control of G2. 20 seconds left to go, though. They need to think about how they get this diffuser in. Where exactly is Blur? That is the question. Alamo is going to push in, probably try to just block off this door. He's going to just be highlighting the positions of those defenders that are in there. Exodus manages to take down Doki. Virtue goes in, but we need the plant going down. 4 seconds left to go. Citizen gets a kill. It's 3v1. Alamo, he's able to get the diffuser and just extend the clock enough for Citizen to get the final kill. And G2 dares, they go 6-1.
Pistol tap off the back of that as well. Really well played by G2. Virtue really being the kingmaker in that round as well. This is the thing about Monty. I speak about it a lot. It's the tip of the spear for many teams. Holding the front line, drawing eyes and attention. Think about the number of times you play rank where players just stare at a Monty and start throwing impacts or hoping that miraculously he'll turn 180 and show you his backside so you can spray him down. It never happens. The same's just happened here in EUL, and Virtue has capitalised with a massive 2K coming in on the construction side that TT9 had no awareness of. Really good stuff from G2 once again, and with a round like that, I'm pretty convinced they can now look to close this out 7-1.
I mean, on paper, what a convincing win it will be for G2. And I must say, to be fair to G2, I think they've grown into the game pretty well. The first couple of rounds, they held on well in the first. They were taken apart in the second. The bar defense was then great in the third. And they've gone on from there, really, sort of strength to strength. And they are now looking the much better team here. They're certainly worth the scoreline that they've got. Is there, looking back at it, an extra opportunity or two for a couple of rounds for TT9? I think possibly on a different day. Maybe they get a couple more. Do I think that they've done enough to be competitive on the scoreboard today and to have us, at 4-3 at this point? No, I don't think they have realistically. Maybe a 5-2 possibly, but I wouldn't go as far as sort of level pegging at this stage. So G2 looking good, 7-1. I mean, it'll be a fantastic result for them. Boost them up onto 7 points, and, it's exactly what they wanted out of Clubhouse.
That's
Who
exactly
needs
it.
Chalet?
No, that's exactly who needs Chalet, right? Fresh sitting there weeping right now backstage, sat in the green room. But no, I think with really how things are shaped up, as you say, 1 or 2 rounds wouldn't have made a big difference here. I think you've really seen the clash from G2 in the last 2 or 3 rounds. I came in very doubtful and a little bit worried for them, but I'm glad we have seen it really start to shine here. I say that, Doki, a lovely shining hole through the middle of his head right now as Nico steps up, but Halamau's in with the blitz as well, trying to run down his opposition. It's Nico holding up here as well, almost finding his kill. They finally find it out as well. G2 maybe a little bit too big for their boots here in round 8, find themselves almost completely shut down. They've lost 2, Blur's on the deck. It's not looking good as they lose yet another. It feels like TT9 might find a little bit of a consolidation round here, but I don't know if it'll be enough to stage a whole comeback.
Yeah, for sure. Like you say, G2 maybe just getting a little bit ahead of themselves. The thing is, you know, maybe you cheese that final round. Let's be honest, they've got the breathing space to do it, so why not? Chuck the blitz in and see what happens. It's not panned out. You know, next round I'd expect to see them, you know, maybe with a little bit more of an orthodox attack, come in and try to lock this one out 7-2. They're not going to want to give away too many rounds. You know, each round that slips away can be a big problem in the overall picture because it starts to feel possible, you know, that TT9 could get themselves back in. Blur is going to bleed out any second. That's exactly what happens there. Mission is credited with that kill. Virtue's just trying to get anything going from the window here. He's just waiting for them to give him an opportunity, but he won't get one. Mission, he manages to find the final kill, and yet again, there's 2 wins for TT9 in terms of rounds, and it's 2 flawless rounds.
Yeah, it's...
It's all or nothing for them.
Why did you go suddenly so distant, Tim? What happened?
I was sat further away from my microphone.
Oh, why'd you do that?
It's not attached to my head at all.
Oh, see, here it is. I can do the whole like, head wobble you were doing earlier like this and still keep on speaking.
Attackers need to locate and defuse
Mr. Bobblehead Tim.
Yeah, see, I move away to make some notes, and it sends me further away from my microphone.
Understood, understood. No, I think the first attacking round from G2 with the Monty, the element that surprises somewhat a one thing. Like, do you expect the G2 are going to play Monty? Probably. Back from when they had Pengu, Monty team, even into this current iteration. Clearly, once again, Monty team. Alamar is now playing it yet again. We had the Blitz coming out as a little bit of an attempted cheese that got shut down as well. The real question and big challenge for TT9 will now be, have you figured out already how to deal with the Monty? Because whether you like it or not, there's another one about to come running at your face.
Downstairs we go. So we're likely to see Alamai pushing, probably through the dirt tunnel by choice. But that being said, they've got the castle on side here, the TT9, so there could be a full SSG roam here. We don't have the Mozzie, we do have the Mute. So I'll be interested to see just how much attention there is to top floor. But it could see Alamai trying to push in and take somewhere like Garage, try and move through CCTV. It doesn't look like it's going to be the case. For the time being, they've got dirt tunnel open straight up. He's looking to push in towards it, so it doesn't look like G2 are overly worried about what's going on around the map.
And why would you? Direct to side, boys. You got a Monty on side. I say that, and Virtue's often found himself dead already. Emission, the one working his way down from main stairs, finding him just outside the window in a real cheeky kill, is a dream start for TT9 once again. And this is kind of the concern. If you've got the Monty on side, again, you know that he's your front line. He's the one marching forward and making space for the rest of you to follow into. Playing so split up as G2 are doing right now does make me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, it's not just, you know, them playing split up as of right now. The thing that makes me nervous for G2 is them giving a couple of rounds away. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, you know, but if they lose this one, as Mission seems to have activated, gets himself a second kill, this time on to Citizen, it could become a tricky situation for G2. They're 6-1 up. They find themselves 6-3. TT9 getting some momentum on the defense. Nico shutting Doki down. Not only are they getting momentum, they're building confidence from it. You can see it. They're taking more gunfights. They're winning more gunfights. Nico's ready to take another one on the reverse angle of the hatch. Doesn't need to, as it's Sider who gets the job done. And now Alamo is in a 1 versus 5 on a Monty. This doesn't happen. He manages to get one. That's it. The trade is there immediately. And all of a sudden now it's 6-3. And G2 need to start thinking about this in different terms.
And this is where all the kind words are said after like round 6, round 7 somewhat drop away, right? I said, you know, we're seeing the real like composure of a would-be champion team here on the defensive side. You saw them really delivering great defensive roams together. They were working as a team on the extended holes. They had 4 players inside a gym and bedroom at one point defending bar and stage. Everything they were doing was very together. It was very team-based. Now we're onto the attacking side. It's almost like we stepped into a game of rank where everyone's doing their own thing. You've got Citizen trying to challenge inside of Gym. You've got Virtue dying out on the single window on main stairs. You've got Alamal working his way through dirt. You've got 2 trying to focus kind of on kitchen, but also kind of on hallway. Like, some teams do have a lot of confidence that they believe with all 5 players, they can control and pressure different areas of the map at the same time. For G2, who have looked a little bit ropey in the last 2 or 3 weeks, for me, you've got to be playing together here. Bring out that team play. Go back to basics. Overwhelm them with trades and numbers. That's what we've got to see from them, I think, to really convince us they're going to be, a team that can fight for, dare I even say, top 4, potentially even top 6 or top 7.
Quite a swing, Des. Quite a swing from championship performances to top 6 or top 7. But as you say, this is what we need to stop seeing from G2. We need to see some consistency. We need to see them, bringing the best over and over again. And not, particularly for G2, I feel like it's at the turn of the half. It's at those changing sides. Whether it be from defense to attack, attack to defense, doesn't always seem to matter too much. For me, they just need to get better at transferring that performance from one side to the other. TT9 this time, they're going to go for CCTV and Cash once again. G2 were able to get the win last time. They got themselves into Garage using the Monty of Alamo, not being brought along this time. So they're going to need an alternative plan to get themselves into Garage and get control of that area. But once they had the breach and once they had Garage, there was very little that TT9 could do about it from there on in. And G2 just sort of rolled over and got the kills that they needed and got the job done. So G2 going to be hoping for as simple around here, I'm sure.
Here comes that setup again as well. I was going to comment in the last round that we hadn't really seen this similar this armor use coming out of TT9 that we've seen out of G2. The kitchen hatch still very much exposed, had all the angles it needed to be able to challenge downstairs. Not that it really meant anything for G2 in the end. But here in this round, you are seeing the same one coming again. Those 2 circular ones that you can see coming in on catwalk, providing protection from the breach, for example. I wonder if we'll see the ones that are slightly more dug inside as well to give the longer sort of defenses that I spoke about, the kind of cone that dips just inside of the site itself. For now, at least, though, definitely giving a challenge towards G2 and saying, look, you've got to break through a lot of keeper barricades if you want to get anywhere near us inside a Garage.
I love the placement of those barricades as well. Just making it, because once you've got the breach open, you can use the wall that you see there that sort of juts out. You can use that wall as a little position to peek from, and if they've got the rotation or they've got the lines of sight opened up in towards the Garage catwalk, it makes it really difficult. You've got to, really think about your positioning. You can see straight away that's the angle that Alamo's looking towards, challenging potentially from this position over to Garage catwalk, but the keeper barricades will prevent him doing that, and Cyther can just use them to peek over. So I love this setup.
I do find it interesting how they've had a Vulcan canister on the wall with a bandit on side, potentially to try and play some bandit trick. I know Nika wasn't there, but that's an option you have. You eliminate that option by putting a Goyo canister on the wall, because an aid from below, like we saw, pops that canister out, denies the area away from your own team, so there is no tricking coming through. So although it's taken G2 75 seconds or so, they did get that wall open in the end. Here, I think they're actually abandoning even trying to think about going into Garage, and instead of putting a bit of focus onto construction. The problem there is you've got players inside a bedroom you've now got to go and clear through. So it's really well thought out by TT9 to commit one man, but a lot of utility in towards Garage, and a lot of men, but less utility inside of Gym and Master.
WTG's take a ton of damage there. He's now a breath away from death. Needs to be very careful. Exodus is getting aggressive here. He's going to find himself one potentially. No, the challenge from the rooftop just makes it difficult for him to find his way. Virtue underneath with the nade manages to get the kill, and that trades us out with one that came in onto Blur, leaving us now 4 versus 4. Diffuser is in the hands of Dorky. It has been collected. 40 seconds left to go. They need to get moving. Citizen finds a mission, and that's exactly the sort of momentum that G2 want coming into the last 30.
This is the problem. WTG should be a dead man here as well. He's 1 HP. And you can blow on him and he'll fall over. There we go. 2 left standing for G2. This could be the round they're looking for. A 4v2. Make it a 4v1. Cyther with it all to do. Going to impact off the keeper barricade, but has no idea. Can't hit the man right in front of him. And it's the player playing right behind him to get the close out. G2 taking a pretty cozy win against TT9.
Overall, yes, a little bit of a blip in the middle there. Gave away a couple of rounds to TT9. But I think it's fair to say, at least from round 4 onwards, in pretty much control.
Yeah, I think a blip in the first 2 or 3 rounds, kind of warming into things. A little bit of a crazy one in round 8 on their second attack, but outside of that, it was all G2. Now, is it necessarily a performance that makes a champion? Not quite, but like I said, throughout the game, you're seeing the glimpses of a team here that could be starting to fight for top 4 at some point. Whether or not it's too late this stage or not, I'm not sure. You know, we're what, 5 days in now? That got them 3 points on the board. It puts them up to 7. There's still a world where they can fight for a major spot, but there are a lot of other teams really on fire right now, Tim.
The thing is, there was still a world in stage 2 and they got away with it, you know, but that 4% from last time starts to look even narrower this time. You don't do those sorts of things back to back, or, you know, it would be extremely rare anyway that happens. So, yeah, G2 have certainly got their work cut out for them, but a good start towards it nonetheless.
Well, lots of tap up Sprabuni and Wrath and ask them, hey, is it 4% time yet? Because that's what got G2 the spot last time round. There may well still be a chance. We'll find out if G2 can still do it in the next few play days. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, Des, go break it down. See you soon.